Hello everyone. GM. Morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. How's the week going for everyone? Coding a lot this week, right? Devices, using scripts, writing tests. You're
Before we
excited,
start,
right?
can I ask you a question?
Yes, Arda.
I couldn't finish yesterday's homework because I could not get how to get a function call in VM. Could you do perhaps one single part of it?
You mean the tests from yesterday?
Yeah.
Which one?
For example, uh, that's the voting weight. No, just go below a little bit. Yeah, for example, when the voter interacts with the vote function in the contract.
When the voter interacts with the voting function? Perfect.
Yeah.
So when I call the function vote, for example, correct? Arda?
Yes. I mean, how do I specify who called and then stuff like that?
I guess I don't get your question. How do you specify who is calling that transaction?
Yes. And also like what the function called output was and so on.
Wonderful. So there are some examples for this if you want to look more in detail, because we can always answer these with the GitHub issues too in these links here that I'm putting. So for example, if I want to call the Hello World contract as another account in the exercise of number 6, we can do something like this. We can use a VM to retrieve an existing contract with another account, with this other wallet. And then when we call the write function with this other wallet here, I'm testing that it should fail. So in the test scenario here of the vote, you can do the same thing when account as a voter. So you give the voting right for that account. If it doesn't have the right to vote, it should fail. If it has the right to vote, it should work. And then you check the vote there. You can use the same technique as we had here in lesson 6 in this test here. Okay. This it's scenario here. Okay. Makes sense? Ivan, yes, you have a question you share here in the chat. That's looking very good.
So yes, that's exactly to add to the question previously asked. Can you show the hello world, like we were looking at how to execute it on behalf of other account? But for example, if you look at the line where I'm calling vote, I mean, I'm just able to specify the account and the other account, but it's a little bit different, the syntax that we use in the hello world, for example, yet that works as well. And it's sometimes a little bit confusing. I mean, this test is passing, and I think it's also correct, and I'm doing it for the other account. And then I'm checking it also. But yeah, so for me, this is a question of like there are many ways of achieving the same thing, which is a little bit confusing. Can you confirm that or not? And the second, I noticed that, I mean, many parameters, like even this vote 0 or give right to vote, for example, the kind of second and third line, except the comment, like we need to pass the list or arrays. I mean, why is this the case? Maybe you answered it already before, but and not just a parameter of the proper type, which is already always has to be
Yeah.
enclosed as a list or an array.
So two questions. First, about connecting accounts. You can connect here when you create the smart contract, true. But you can also connect when writing the transfer. So while I'm writing this transfer ownership here, for example, you could use account object like this. You open I'm not editing here, but you would be able to open this, do accounts and blah blah blah. This can work too. I'm using this syntax here in this way because when we code something in the front end using Vim, we're going to see me later. Usually you have one smart contract that you want to connect to, and you have one wallet. For example, you use a wallet in MetaMask now. And when the user swaps a wallet for another wallet, you are going to be connected with that other. So we're going to use this example, the contract object itself connected to an account, so that when you call it directly. Okay. But if you pass the account in the way that you're calling, it works too, okay, Ivan. That's a good idea. And your second question, if I got it correctly, was for passing the parameters, right? For example, when I want to call a function like set text, I should have it here. I should set the text correctly. Or when I call transfer ownership, for example, I write transfer, and then I need to put the parameters inside array, right? Is
Yes.
this what you asked? This is for syntax of VM. Okay, VM receives all the parameters in an array. Parameter 1, 2, 3 in order. Okay,
Perfect. Thank you.
good. We are going to do some of these things today. Some of those actions today. I just wanted to suggest for us to go for the scripts part because this weekend project is about scripts. It's going to be doing what we were doing the test, but now in a script because I want to connect to the testnet. I want to send transactions to the testnet or even mainnet using those scripts. Okay, so it's basically porting over the things that we had in the tests to the script. The suggestion for this to work well, since you are still discovering the ballot contract, is to do the things in the test first, debug, see how they work, console log, inspect, all of that. And then when you understand, okay, I understood how to delegate. I understood how to vote. I understood how to give right to vote. Okay, now I'm going to do the script. That is basically just copying over the things that you had in the tests and then doing the execution inside scripts. Okay, that's the idea for today, to prepare all of you for doing the weekend project, where we are going to develop and run scripts for Ballot.sol for you to interact with Ballot within your group, the same way that you did with Hello World in the last weekend project, but now using scripts. So you're going to write a script to deploy the smart contract, then write another script to give right to vote for people. Then you're going to write another script to cast a vote using your account. And then you're going to test this within the members of your group. Okay. Good. We have a limited lesson time for this today. It's going to be a little fast. This lesson 8 is always a little fast. But if you have more questions, if you want to ping me through the weekend with GitHub issues and all, you know that I'm there for that. I'll answer as soon as possible. Okay. I'm going to start by copying the same folder that I had yesterday, Project 3, to create a new folder called Project 4. Project 4. And remember that this can be tricky, okay, because we have those hidden files like the .env. I have created .env.example here because I populated my .env. I don't want to share these configurations. You don't want to share these configurations. So when copying everything, make sure that you're copying the hidden folders too, sorry. And see if you have them enable visual in your VS Code. But there is one folder here that I should not copy. That is going to take a lot of time. Do you remember which folder is that?
The node modules.
Node models. Very well, Peter. So I'm not going to copy that folder. I might not copy artifacts cache do, but whatever. If I copy, it's not going to kill me. Node models is bad. Do not go copy node models. So I'm going to copy all of these. Packet.json you could leave out too, but so long you don't copy node models, things should work very well. So I'm going to open this on terminal. What is the command that I should run to install everything since I don't have node models?
npm I.
I to install, that's correct. This should take a couple seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds or so. So much faster than copying the node models. I have my new project installed here. I'm going to do npx hard. What's that? Okay, npx hard clean. Okay, just to start in a new state. Yeah, macro, yes, copying the package lock.json might give me problems too. Since I'm using the same dependencies and now I copy it over, it's not much a big deal. But ideally, you would copy only the files that are important. You would leave node models, packet lock.json, artifacts, cache out. Today I'm doing it very quickly just for you not to stress too much. Just don't copy node models. That's the big thing to avoid, okay? And I'm going to compile npx hard compile to see if things are working. Okay, it's working. I'm going to do npx hard test. So we're going to have the same testing situation as we had yesterday. So a lot of things passing, most of it not implemented. Okay, so this is the situation that we have right now. We would have the project 4 here copied from project 3 from yesterday. Okay, if you want to do the things in the same repository as yesterday, it's not a problem. Just remember that you might have some changes in the files. The more you can keep track of your changes, the better. Okay, Arda, you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, while I was doing npx hardhat clean, it said need to install hardhat 222.19, and I said yes, and then the compile doesn't work because it says trying to use a non-local installation of hardhat. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, so what probably happened, like if you are like this and you do npx hardhat clean, is that if you're not inside a folder, look, you're going to try and install hardhat globally. You should not do that. Hardhat is not meant to be installed globally. Ideally, you would install hardhat inside each folders. So I'm going to pick no here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to enter my project. And then here I can do the hardhat stuff, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I did all that. Okay, I'll try it. I need to uninstall this hardhat globally.
For today you can leave, but for future things, instead of fighting as it, I would suggest uninstall is very quickly to remove to its global uninstall. And you should make sure that you have, if you do an ls, that you have the package.json there in that folder, okay? And then you can run it from there, okay? So I'm going to open this on Cursor, or you can open that in your VS Code, or you can open that in your folder or Finder, just to see the files. And I'm going to start explaining scripts on top of this. Okay, and we're going to copy a lot of things that we have working in this Ballot.ts inside that script folder. Okay, that is inside that script file in the script folder that we're going to use. I have my .env populated here. This is a prerequisite for today's lesson. So make sure that your env is something like that. You should have your private key there or your mnemonic key there set up in your .env. Private key is even preferred because if you happen to leak it somehow, you don't leak your whole mnemonic, just that private key. And you should have at least one API key, like Alchemy, Etherscan, Ifura. You should have some API key here for you to use in today's lesson, okay? This should be your env example. Yes, Dante?
Yeah, real quick. How did you get the node modules installed? What line was that? Or what code?
npm install. npm install like this. Inside the folder, you should have package.json there, and you do npm install. And that's quicker than copying the node modules folder back and forth, most situations. Okay. Today, I want to create one script for deploying smart contract, for calling smart contracts. Hard suggests sometimes ignition folder for you to deploy and pick up from past deployments and change. We're going to skip all of that. We might use a deployment model later in a project called Scaffold ETH. But for now, we're going to skip this whole ignition thing that they created. It is useful, but I find it too opinionated. And we're going to go forward by writing these scripts ourselves to compile things, to test things, to run transactions, to list, for example, listing winning proposals, sending votes, deploying smart contracts. We can do scripts like this that they are meant to target a blockchain. It can be the local blockchain, as we're going to do first, but can also be a public blockchain for you to deploy things out there. So we're going to skip this ignition part, and I'm going to create a normal TypeScript script for doing some operation, okay? And just like I was explaining yesterday, a TypeScript script is nothing of too complex. It's just a script that is doing something on your computer. Let me create a folder here called scripts. The plural, it doesn't need to be you. You can put any name for that folder. And let me create one script called deploy with hardhat.ts. Okay, for us to deploy that smart contract using hardhat. Let me create this script here. Okay. And this script can have anything on the syntax of TypeScript. Again, we can use the hardhat runtime environment. And now, for example, I can put something like this: console.log deploy. Let me just do hello world. Yesterday we were testing these scripts. We were using Mocha suite for testing those. So we would go for the terminal and we would do something like this. npx hardhat test, and then I could pick that folder like scripts, deploy with hardhat, okay? This would invoke that script as a test, like we were doing yesterday. Okay, so you see, it's not much different of what we were doing. But this doesn't make sense because I'm not going to create those describe scenarios. I'm not going to create those it situations. We are not going to run retest. We're going to use another command called npx hardhat run. Okay, Same thing as the test syntax, but you use run, and then you pick that script, deploy with hot. It's going to run that script directly. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me pick this. And then I'm going to change from test to run. Sorry. Okay. And then it's going to give hello world. Okay, hello world. I mean, if I run a test like this, npx hard run, and then I pick a test, then it's not going to work. Too many typos. Sorry about that. See, so running is for running scripts. Test is for testing scripts. You see, but the syntax is not much different. When we are running a script, we don't have that describe stuff. That is for Mocha. Okay. So scripts are for things that we want to do something, we want to send a transaction, we want to deploy a smart contract, like we want to do something, we do an action, then you run a script. A test is for you to run a batch of things in sequence. Okay. Johnson, you want to ask something before?
Yeah, this is the terminal you are typing. How do you move to VS Code? I can see a command there, cursor. Is that taking you to VS Code?
No, this is a separate terminal. Okay,
Yeah,
the one
okay.
that I have been using since lesson 5. It's possible to use terminal inside VS Code, inside Cursor too. I prefer not to. I prefer to have a separate terminal to do the things and then use Cursor and VS Code to code. Okay. Just because of some past experiences, I have the terminal hanging and then I need to kill the whole thing. So I prefer using the terminal separate here.
Terminal, okay.
Okay. And I had someone else with their hand raised. Who was it? To kill you. Yeah.
I think it was Dante, then he lowered the hand.
Yeah. You want to ask something, Dante?
Well, no, I was just gonna say that when I ran the different ones, test and run, with one I got more information. The test one that seems to be like information regarding testing, and when I just ran it with the run option, there was it just kind of like ran the script, and there's the basic information, I guess, that's being outputted by the script
Perfect.
you're running.
Yeah. This is the key to understand the difference from yesterday to today. Up to yesterday, we were running tests inside a test suite, so we can test a lot of things in parallel with care, with this emulated virtual environment for us to do a lot of operations. But the script, no, is a real thing. Okay. It's like football. You play a lot of games in-house with your club players, and you can do it hundreds of times. But then when it's for real, you go there and play. Yeah, and everything you do is for real. We get recorded, and then you bet $300 in that team, but it loses, and then your wife is mad at you. Okay, never happened to me. Okay. Never did that. I don't do it, and I'll never do it again. So that is the testing things that we were doing the last days, and that is the script that is for real. It's going to do something there. Okay, it's going to work. It can work in a virtual machine, yes, but it can work in a public testnet, in the mainnet, and so forward. Okay. So let me clear here and start it clean with this deploy with hot, and I'm going to do this structure here. I know it is a little more than just a hello world. Okay, but it's a very simple structure where I define a function and then I call this function for it to be executed by catching errors. Okay. We are running the TypeScripts for now, okay, Trust? See your question here in the chat. So I'm declaring a main function and then I'm calling it. Okay. If I don't call this function, I'm just declaring, then nothing happens. Okay, I have these const proposals, and then I have a console log for printing all of these proposals. Let me run this script. Nothing is going to happen. Look like this. It's like sometimes my wife come to me and say, "Oh, honey, we are out of milk, or we are out of oil, we are out of bread, whatever." Okay, that's sad. What she wanted to say is that go there and buy milk, oil, and bread for us to have a breakfast. So what we're doing here is just defining the function, but we're not calling. We need to call it. Go there and buy those things in the supermarket. Okay. So this is just as a syntax to declare a function and then call it. Okay. Catching an error here because sometimes running things in terminal can be a little tricky. So if I execute it now with this declare function, it's going to do this loop, picking that hard-coded array that I had and printing it in a loop here on the terminal, okay? It's totally different from the idea of the tests now. We are just doing an operation in sequence, okay? Questions here? If you understood the tests for the things that were happening, now you see that we can pull the things over here. Okay. Yes, Browns, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Question. Okay, so my question is, for the test and the script, is it the same pattern we're going to be using for writing tests and for also doing the scripting? Is it going to be the same pattern?
Now that we have the tests there inside this test file, the things that we want to do in the scripts can be just copied. For example, let's say I want to deploy a contract. Let's say I want to get a wallet clients and I want to do this and this and that. I can just copy this and paste here. So the tests are going to help you to do things from the scripts. Okay. We copy this. Paste there. So that's a good question, Bronze. We are going to use part of what we have already done in the tests to write scripts. For example, I can now say something like this. Okay, cursor already knowing what I want to do. Ballot contract deployed at a ballot contract address. Okay, let me do like this. So I can just copy it over. I had it working there on the tests. Now when I copy for the scripts, I can just go with it and deploy something in the testnet. The contract was deployed. Okay, it's going to be an easier flow of development. Okay, good. Let me see what I had in the lesson. So adding comments, yeah, it seems that this is exactly what I wanted to do. Let me copy this format ether2 that I might need. So we're going to, let me do this step by step with you. So I'm going to copy those first 3 lines of code. Your code should be something like this, right? To do like this, right? So I'm going to copy these first 3 lines of code. Let me disable this tab. It's very helpful, yes, but it can be also confusing. Okay. And I'm going to paste here. And where I have this to do, I'm going to copy this code that I have here, and I'm going to paste just ahead of this to do. So I'm going to log just before the to do, actually. I'm going to log the proposals, and then I'm going to say something like this: deploying the ballot. And then I'm going to pick the ballot contract. I'm going to deploy the address. I'm going to pick the proposals from it, and I'm going to print. So this is exactly what we did yesterday, right? We executed this TypeScript function. We did like a breakpoint to follow the things that were happening. We saw that we had this object apply. It was inside a fixture here. We don't need a fixture. We saw it working in the test. Now we can basically come here, execute this script, and this script is going to do the same thing that was happening there in the test, but now in a script, doing things for us here in the console. So I have this smart contract deployed to this address inside the hot runtime environment. It's not going for the public testnet yet. I have these proposals, and look, they are these objects index name, and the proposal has those 2 members. Remember what's this? A struct. I'm printing all of these, okay? So basically I can bring anything we did inside the tests now here for the script for us to do directly. Okay. Yes, Dante? Have a question?
When I ran the deploy with hard hat TS with that first set of code, I got what Conrado put in the chat. I got that same thing, but when I added the commands, I think that you added as well. That's where mine broke, and I believe it's something in node modules and TS node.
So see if you have copied those first 3 lines of code too. If you copy those 3 lines of code, you're going to have the 2 hex to string and format ether that might be needed for you to do this function, okay? See if this solves. You can wait a few seconds for that.
Yeah, those are there. You want me to cut and paste the do a screenshot?
The second snippet is not complete. You need to combine it with the first one.
Oh yeah, this
there are
the
3 dots.
too.
There are 3 dots after the main. That's a syntactic error. You can delete them completely, basically.
Yeah, that is this problem too. Yes, I've put the 3 dots here, ellipses, so that you are going to combine this piece of code that I'm putting with the code that we had before. Okay, so you need to assemble it correctly. Copy those 3 first lines of code. Yeah.
Yeah, I understood that. Cool. I think that might be the problem. Thank you.
Okay. And then we're going to run with this command. Hat run scripts deploy with hat, and we can see this in the terminal. Okay. Is everyone here with me? Dante, you're fixing that. I saw that you have it. If you have questions up to this point, let me know, because everything that we are going to do now is using the environment, using our tools, the hat, and then VM directly, to use this script now, things that we're picking from the test and here inside this script, to target the public testnet and deploy things for real. And you're going to see that it's just a small toggle. Like in Remix, that you would just need to connect your MetaMask and then point it to a testnet. Here we're going to see that we have very similar configurations for you to go there and do things for real. Okay. So Conrado, you have a question before we proceed?
Yeah, my question is, they get the same address to deploy a contract to the proposals. Is okay? If they get another account or another address, they get an error.
Yeah, right now we are doing the same address. So the ballot contract is going to be deployed to the same address for everyone because we are using the same hot runtime environment with the same blockchain state with the same accounts.
Okay, okay.
So let's connect this to a public blockchain. We can connect using a public RPC provider. For example, that is this public node here. But if you want to find those providers, that is a very good website that is like Chainlist. That you can see all of the blockchains listed out there for Ethereum, for Solana, for whatever. And you can see the testnet chains for that too. So this would be for mainnet. But let's say I want to include testnets and I want to include testnets and I want to view Sepolia. So it's not the ZK Sync Sepolia. I would find where is Ethereum Sepolia. Should be here somewhere. Oh my God, how many chains? Why do you need those many chains, right? Whatever, I know it's here somewhere. Whatever. So for example, let's say I want to connect with Linea Sepolia, whatever. Or Manta. Okay, this site here.
You can search by the ID, and because the ID is 111555111, and then you will find it quickly.
That's good one. Thanks. So, oops.
Five,
Here I have.
Exactly.
So here we have a lot of different RPC providers that they are public, and I can go there. Markers, not only the orderly Sepolia network, there are thousands of them. And I find this very funny, like, why, right? But whatever. These RPC nodes, they allow you to connect to these blockchains for free, up to some rate limit, depending on the amount of calls that you do. They might block you, but for quick and small tests, these public nodes, they can run very well. Okay, remote procedure calls. Okay, RPC nodes, remote procedure call nodes, where you can call a node out there to get blocks, get transactions, even to broadcast a transaction, okay? So that you don't need to run your own blockchain. You can connect to someone else's node, and they would be a middleman, yes, but they would handle this transaction for you. They cannot change the transaction, but they can move forward this transaction. So we're going to change these configure variables that we have in hot. For example, to add a network here, Sepolia, for example, using some URL, using this public node, for example. So I'm going to copy this configuration, hot user config, like we have here, and we're going to add this file, hot.config.ts, okay? Going to pick this file, hot.config.ts. And I'm going to change this configuration. I can leave the version 28, okay? Change it back to 28. But the important part is that you add this network with Sepolia here, with whatever blockchain, with if you want to use like Base, if you want to use Polygon, whatever you want to use, you can put it here, like a list or whatever. And now, whenever you are calling a deployment script or whatever script, you can just pass this network tab, flag, this network flag, so that you point that script to be executed in that network. Okay. You can do it like this. It's going to give an error for us because the smart contract, the smart contract deployment transaction requires some gas, and we did not specify the account to pay for that yet. Okay, but we are going to do just in a while. Okay, so after I add this, if I run that in the terminal now, I should point that to Sephora. It's going to give me this error. Deploying Ballot contract give me this error as desired, okay, as intended. But you see that I can run it pointed for that network, right? Okay. I'm going to solve this error just in a while. I want to make sure that everyone is understanding what is happening. Just with a small configuration, now I can point those scripts to a public testnet. Okay. There is a little piece of code that I have next in the README that I'm going to bring now just to explain this part of connecting to the testnet. And then we're going to do this setting up your environment variables. Okay. Let's pause the README just for 1 minute for me to show you something. Browns has asked about the things that the tests are different from the scripts and what we can do. Was mentioned that we can import. So we're going to import one line here that is the public client. Okay, this line 9 here that we have in this test inside the deploy contract fixture. I'm going to copy this public client line and I'm going to put it here inside my deploy with .ts script. Okay. Before deploying the ballot, before this line 10, I'm going to put this thing, public client await vm.get public client. Do that on your side too. It's going to be visual. And then I'm going to pick an object from this public client. I'm going to get last block, const last block equals to awaiting this public client dot get block, get block here. And it's going to default to the latest block, but I could put a block number here, or I would have the latest here. Let me see. Axis optional. So I guess it is going to get the latest block, and then I can console log this last block. Like this, and I can put like a return statement here just for it not to give errors. Okay, let me paste the comments here, Marco. So I'm going to use this public client that I had there in the test here in the script. I'm going to run first without the network tag, and you're going to see that we are connected to the hot runtime environment. So this is the block that we had when connected to the hot runtime environment. The hash is this, the number is 0, the gas usage is this, and now, okay. This is because we are in the hot runtime environment. We have just this blockchain there. This is the block that we have. When we go for the network of Sepolia, I'm going to get a real public blockchain data. Yes, this is true. I'm picking all of the transaction hashes inside this block, in this array. This is the block of number 7894402 inside Sepolia blockchain. It had all of this information with this gas and blah, blah, blah. We are seeing a real block coming from a real blockchain, a real public blockchain. It's not mainnet yet, but I'm getting this information there in our code. So the same things that we were doing for targeting the hot environment with a single flag cannot be used for targeting public testnets or even mainnets, you see? Makes sense? Okay, so I'm going to delete this part. We're going to have this later, just to explain what this flag is doing. And for deploy a smart contract, we saw that we have this problem. Whenever I try to deploy a smart contract in a public testnet, in the hard hat runtime environment, it works because I have those pre-funded accounts. But when I'm going for the testnet, it gives me this error because I don't have an account to pay for this transaction set up there. I don't have it configured in hard hat yet. Okay. So now we're going to return for setting up the environment variables. You should create a .env file in the root of your project with these configurations. Your minimum key if you want, if you prefer your private key that you can pick from MetaMask, or any of your wallet, just make sure that there is no mainnet value there. Please don't lose your money. Keep it safe from scammers, from hackers, from virus, from Trojans. Put it in another environment. If you do have crypto, just put it in somewhere safe and use a new wallet here for development. Okay, do not put your private key with money, with mainnet money here. Okay. I have a friend that has a technique that makes him 100% protected against any crypto scams. He's never going to get a single dollar of crypto robbed. You know what his trick? He doesn't have crypto.
Exactly.
Never going to get robbed. Yes, Ivan, you want to ask a question?
Yes, about the account. So technically the MetaMask, which are connected to Sepoya with a fake Sepoya Ether should be fine for us.
Yes, just make sure that you don't have mainnet balancing the same account, okay?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Sometimes people overlook this detail. Your testnet account and your mainnet account are the same private key. We don't have different private keys for those. So even if you're using it for testnet, still if you have mainnet balance there, it can be dangerous. Okay. Yes, Dante?
Yeah.
You have a question?
Sorry to bring this up again, but yeah, so I'm a little stuck with the deploy with hard hat TypeScript file. So I did the first part, but then I'm kind of getting hung up with those 3 dots, where to put that code from the 3 dots down.
Okay. Maybe I can do this. I can copy my code that I have now in the script and I can send here in the chat. And then you just need to format it correctly. Okay, it's one in the top, one in the bottom.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Good. We have Conrado and Brown to ask questions here before we
Yeah.
proceed.
My question is, I got to get a faucet from Alchemy, and I don't have Ether in my main account. So I get another account to transfer my faucet. It's okay with that, or I have a problem with it?
Any account that you put here is going to be used for signing the transactions. So if you pick from another account and transfer for this account, there's no problem at all. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But I can't get a faucet from my new account. Just my older account, I can get the faucets.
Okay,
It's okay
but
to
do you
with the
have
faucets?
001 or something like that in your account?
Yeah, my account,
Okay,
yeah.
then you can send here and using this project.
Okay. Thanks.
And Browns, you want to ask something?
Yes. My question is, okay, for the script and the test functions, I wanted to know because when I installed npx hardhat, I noticed that it didn't bring out the scripts folder, but it brought out ignition and modules. I wanted to know if I could change both of these files and replace the both of them with just scripts so that I'll be in line with what's going on.
Yeah, I suggest you to create a new folder called scripts. But the
Okay.
name of the folder is not important. It's not like test that is going to be configured. So you can name it commands, operations, scripts, whatever you want. I suggest naming it scripts. Okay.
Okay. So should I replace it? Should I just delete it, the ignition and the modules, and replace it with scripts, or just leave
Yeah,
it like that?
it's not needed. Ignition is here. It's
Okay.
not doing anything. It's an empty folder. So you can
Okay.
keep scripts here. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So if you have your RPC providers, okay, if you have them configured out there, we're going to read these variables using a package called .env. So we need to install this .env package. Okay, or you can install all those variables in the environment directly. It's not that interesting. I'm going to install that package called .env. We need to read these environment variables. So you run this command in a terminal. There, in the same folder as you have your package.json. Okay, it's very important. And then you can use the .env package in your script, something like that. In your hardhat.config, or later you can use that inside the script directly. I'm going to do that. You can pick your hardhat.config.ts, and then you can put this import there in the top, or you can put in the bottom of the import. The order here doesn't matter. Okay, so long you put those two lines, it should work. This would allow you to pick everything that you have in those .env files and bring to the configuration here, to the and configure it to bring it to the script that you are running. Okay, and then we can access those environment variables in the script. For example, we can create those two variables here. Provider API key. For example, I'm using Alchemy here to connect to the testnet, and my private key here that I'm picking for my .env. You could use a mnemonic too. You can use other providers. Okay, and what I want to make sure is that if I do a console log, okay, in my situation, since I'm streaming this, I'm going to console log this only a substring from like 0 to 5. And I'm going to pick deployer, private key, just from 0 to 5, just to show that I have those here. Okay. And if I run my script now, if I run this script, hardhat run, I still haven't configured my my accounts there, but at least I should see this console log. Okay, let me pause my share just to make sure that I did correctly this last thing. Okay, yeah. So let me resume share here. So when I run this script, it's going to do those console logs there. And look, I do have my first digits of my API key and the first digits of my private key there, it is showing. Okay, so if you want to know if your environment is well configured, you can do this command here. You can just console log without a slice. Okay, to make sure that you have, sharing your screen. So just make sure that you have your configuration correctly there. If it is empty, you have a problem. You did not set up the env correctly or the config correctly. And bear in mind that the provide API key can pick from Alchemy, from Encode, or whatever. You can change this for whatever provider that you want. Okay. Is this clear for everyone? You should be able to do that now on your side. Make sure that you have the API key, you have a private key, and they are working. Okay. 4 lines because it run twice. Okay. One for setting up and another for running the script. Okay. This is why we had those 4 lines. Marco, you raised your hand there?
Yeah, but just a question, maybe two. We have just to pick up the private key of our wallet and one of the API key from one RPC provider, right? Alchemy,
Yes.
Infura, what else? Okay. And can you type again the command about the console log to check if the provider API key is correct?
Yeah, sent you there in the chat.
Thank you.
Just please remember not to review that to anyone. If you have people watching now, I know that we are not dealing with real money here, but those practices they carry over. So let's be paranoid right now, so we remember to be paranoid in the future. Okay. Another question? Conrado, you raise your hand.
Yeah, can you explain again the slice to get the only the first the counts, the first characters?
Yeah, since I'm sharing my screen, I don't want to show the whole
Okay. All right.
string. So this is why I did this slice.
Okay.
See.
Okay.
So I wanted to show that I have there. So
Okay,
this
thanks.
is the best way to do it. Okay. So in this script, I'm trying to deploy a smart contract. I haven't configured my wallet yet, but I have it here for us to using that hat.config. So let me configure for using this wallet. I'm going to use this URL that is going to connect me to Cefolha with Alchemy that I'm using there. If you're using another provider, you should pick the URL of the provider, Infura, Etherscan, whatever. They have these in the documentations. Or you can use the public node for now. It should go well. And you are going to set up these accounts, okay? Setting up your private key with the provider is good because then you have more rate limit. You have more ability to send transactions there without being throttled, okay? But it's not 100% necessary. But your account, it is. Putting your account there, it is going to tell put it here. Putting your account array there is going to tell Hot that the first account in the wallet client's account is your private key. You have a private key there, is the account with that private key. Now we can use that for signing transactions. You can even put 2, 3, 4 private keys here if you want, all of those different accounts. Those that we were using in the test, for example, have 20 pre-funded accounts. If you happen to have 20, 10, 5 accounts with testnet balance, you can put them here for using those scripts too. Okay. And we can even run the tests pointing to the testnet. That is possible. It's crazy, but it's possible. But here in the script now, when I try to deploy this ballot, when I run this command, I even have the view chain account information before deploying. Okay, so Dante, pay attention. Those 3 dots are here again. Okay, so it means that I'm going to copy everything before the 3 dots. Okay, and I'm going to prepend that in the code that I have. I'm going to prepend that before console log proposals. Okay. So the 3 dots after is because I'm prepending the code that I have here. And wait a few seconds for you to do that on your side.
If those
I
three
mean,
dots are on the bottom,
yes, and then you remove the 3 dots. The 3 dots are just the ellipses to show where your code would continue, and then you put that in the top. Function main, then we have public clients, block number. The deploy is going to be that one account. I'm going to show the address. I'm going to display the balance, all of that before I do this console log proposals, okay? And I mean there, sorry if I'm spelling your name. We are not sending your private key to public nodes, okay? We're going to use this private key to sign transactions, and we're going to send the signed transactions to these public nodes. Okay, we never declare a private key directly. The private key should never leave your device. No way. Okay. So now if I run this script, if I execute this script now with the network Sepolia, clear everything. Look, I have blockchain information. I have this last block number. This is the address of my deployer, my account that I have set up here. This is the balance that I have right now on the Sepolia testnet. This is the address in the real testnet that I have deployed to. If I search this address, oops, if I search this address in the testnet explorer, Julia it scan, and if I put this blockchain explorer hash, I should see that this contract here. Let me pick the deploy transaction actually. This contract here was deployed 48 seconds ago. It is deployed there with success in the real thing, in the real testnet. Okay, so everything we learned in the past 3 lessons can now target the testnet, deploy smart contracts, sending transactions to it, verifying the output, get information from it. Okay, this is going to be very useful in the future when building the apps, because the little toy things that we are doing with the tests to learn Solidity, they can be ported for building real applications, okay? Questions about this output that I had here? Yes, Ivan?
I'm not getting the outputs. It fails for me on the line basically where there is a console log deployer address. Basically, it says that cannot read the properties of undefined, which I assume deployer is undefined.
Okay,
And,
so if your deploy is undefined, you need to check the hardhat.config.ts. See if you have the account here.
So the account which you have shown to us, where we put our keys. Okay.
Yeah, and then you need to make sure they have the provided deploy a private key correctly here. Okay.
Okay.
Ulad Samir, I see your error there too. Provider error must be authenticated. So you check this URL here too. Okay, if I have the correct URL, if I'm putting the correct provide API key, those 2 lines are the key lines for you to have those configurations in place. Okay. Same thing for you, Ivan. These lines are going to make your scripts work.
Yes, I just misplaced them into the deploy with hard hat instead of the hard hat config, the usage of the .n. But I'm fixing it. It wasn't clear from the documentation. I'm fixing it now. Give me a minute.
Okay. Good. Explain again here, Ron's asking. So to deploy it to a public blockchain, to Sepolia testnet, for example, I passed this URL configuration and the accounts, like I'm explaining for Ivan right now, and used the flag of Sepolia, the network flag here with Sepolia, so that Hat knows what configurations to use, what account to use and all, and use that to deploy that smart contract to the public testnet. Okay.
Okay. Another question though.
Yes.
Okay, so the provider API key, are we going to change it? And also for the provider API key and the private key, yeah, the deployer's private key, are we actually going to put an actual private key there? Or we're going to just leave
No,
it like that?
not in the code. You're going to put there on your .env, something like that.
Okay.
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 This is your homework from lesson 4. I've mentioned that a few times this week, okay? More than 5 times. Remember to put this there on your .env file.
Thank you.
Good. There are some things that Hat can help us and some things that Hat doesn't help that much. Especially when going for building applications that we're going to do in week 4 now. We are not going to rely on the Hat runtime environment and the Hat tooling for communicating with the blockchain, because the Hat is using VM to communicate to the blockchain. A tool is using another. So at some point we can ditch Hat and start using VM directly. And it's quite simple. Let me show that for you. I'm going to create a new script called deploy with VM. Okay. And I'm going to show how to pass proposals for it, how to pass arguments in the situation proposed, but any arguments using this node feature of process arg value. Okay, this is not possible to use with Hat. For example, if I try to pass arguments for Hat here, I know that we just passed the flag Sepolia, yes, but if we pass any other argument, like proposal 1, something like this, Hat is going to complain. I don't know what is proposal 1, what is this positional argument? Please take this off my face. I don't recognize it. So Hat is not prepared to take arguments out of the script. For example, I want to give votes to Dante. I want to give votes for Marco, for Pedro. I cannot run this script like give votes to 0x Pedro with Hat because I don't have the ability of receiving parameters. So this is why I'm going to create this other script called deploy with VM directly, and we're going to remove Hat. And we're going to see how easy it is to understand what Hat is solving for us. Okay. So we can connect to the public testnet to the same things that we did with Hat here in the Hat config now with VM. It's just that doing the things directly with VM requires a bit more of configuration. Hat help us to get the API of contracts, to get the bytecode when deploying smart contracts, and now with VM, we need to get them directly ourselves. Okay. I'm going to skim through this for today. It's not super important for today. You can do the Hat deployments this weekend with VM, without VM directly, doesn't matter. But for week 4, you should remember that because you're going to use VM directly without Hat with WAGMI. Okay, so it's good that we tested today. So I want to pass parameters for this file using this argv of process argv parameter property from Node. So I'm going to create this new script, deploy with VM, and I'm going to put this code, this piece of code. It's using process arg value to pick all of the values that I have in the argument, and I'm going to slice two members of it. Okay, let me console log that. So log the process argv here. Like this. You don't need to do that. I'm just showing the thing for you first. I'm going to do a console log here. So instead of having that set of hard-coded proposals in this script, I'm going to try and receive them from the console. The problem is that if I try to run this with hard-hat, passing those three arguments, hard-hat is going to complain. Hard-hat doesn't know how to handle those dynamic arguments, okay? They only work with those arguments that they know, network, flag, and the gas options, blah, blah, blah. So for passing arguments directly, you can't run it with hard-hat. You need to run with this other command that we have here. We need to run with TS node directly. We can still use hard-hat with TS node directly. You can use the hard-hat runtime environment, or you can run anything that you want to do. This is a TypeScript version of Node. You can run TypeScript. It needs to have this files flag, okay, for some dependencies to run correctly. And we're going to copy this command and run this script. This is going to do the same thing as the run script from hard-hat is going to do. Run is using TS node under the hood. But now I can pass those parameters. So this is going to use TS node to execute this. Deploy with VM. Did I save it? Deploy with VM. Ah, I didn't call the function. Funny. Please call the function. Sorry about that, people. I defined the function but forgot to call. So now I have this main function here. I'm going to run this script again. Passing those three arguments, argument 1, 2, and 3. And look what's going to happen. Arguments has 5 members. The first member is the binary of TS node that is using to execute this. The second argument is the script being executed. And third, fourth, fifth are the arguments that I pass it. Okay, so anytime that you're using arguments with Node, you gotta discard the first 2. So you slice from the position 2. So you slice it 0, you slice 1, and you start counting on the position 2 for you to have the proposals. Okay? Everything that you pass after the position 2 in the process arg value are the proposals. So if I call this script without passing any parameters, it will give me an error. And if I pass this, if I run this script with, look, proposals not provided, I coded this error. So if I pass more things, like arg4, it's going to execute this for me with 4 arguments, 4 members, you see? So I can now receive dynamic command line properties when calling those scripts, okay? I didn't use VM yet. I'm just showing that when I can run with TS node, I can pass arguments for the scripts. Questions here? No questions? So now we have this other script, deploy with VM. that now can receive those arguments. Okay. Now I can replace hot helper functions with those basic VM functions. We can use the public providers directly. We can use the wallet clients directly. We can run those scripts on-chain with the VM directly. And we can even create scripts for doing operations in the blockchain, like deploying the smart contract first, and then calling it to give voting rights to another person dynamically as a type in the terminal, in the CLI. Okay. So we're going to create public clients here with the VM, and we're going to create wallet clients here with the VM directly with this syntax. And we're going to deploy smart contracts with them. And we are going to configure all of the requirements of the bytecode, the ABI, and all of those smart contracts ourselves. We are going to code like an ABI file. We're going to code a connection, and we're going to do this configuration ourselves, something that hard would do for us. When we use VM, we need to do it directly. Okay, so let me show how it would work. Let me copy this code here, and let me paste there on my cursor. Okay, and scroll down to creating a public client, and you paste that inside the deploy with VM. Okay, do not use the deploy with hard hat anymore. And the same way that we had the provider API key there in the hot.config, now I can have the provider API key here in this script. It is possible. In fact, we're not even going to use the hot.config anymore. We are going to go directly here to this script, running it directly. I can even import the hot runtime environment if I want, but here I'm skipping that. And I'm picking the variables from the environment directly and using that script. Okay. Alice, you want to ask something? I see your mic is open there. No worries, no worries. So with VM directly, when I create a public client, I need to pass these configurations. The chain, I need to create a transport object, passing this whole string here with HTTP. So the syntax is a little more complex, but it's doing the same thing as we were doing here with the hot.config. Just picking an URL, I just need to pass those extra parameters here. Okay, and I can get things, for example, the block number, and I can do a console log from it. Let me run that script. So using VM, I'm going to create that public client manually. Okay, and it could create that block number. So I don't need hot for creating that public client. I can use VM directly like we have here. You just need to customize this line 14 with the correct provider API key that you have. Okay. Questions here? We are moving from hot to VM to explain for something that we're going to need there in week 4, that VM can be used directly for connecting to the blockchain. You don't need hot. The hot is heavy. Hot is a tooling for you to create your apps and all. So if you use that as a means for connecting to the blockchain on top of VM, it is heavy. You imagine you live in a house, but all of the construction equipment are there in your backyard. The tractors, the crane, and all, they're all there lying in your backyard. It's not a good house to live, right? Unless you really like construction equipment. Ideally, when we build an application, we would take all of the heavy stuff and leave only the lightweight stuff. So I'm showing that using parameters to call those scripts using VM directly, so you know how to do it. Okay. The deploy with VM code is exactly this code that I have here in the README. Okay. You go there for creating a public client. I copied this and I pasted entirely as it is. So entirely as it is, not a single line of code, no, of code changes. Okay, Browns. So when running this, it should work. Unless you use another provider. If you don't use Alchemy, then you just change the URL for the provider that you're using. Okay. What if I want to use a wallet client? Here is a little more complex. I need to convert from private key to account. Okay. A lot of ellipses here. Okay. So pay attention, people, where to paste everything. These two lines of code would come in the top. I'm going to import the create public client HTTP as I have, but I'm also going to import create wallet client, and I'm going to use this helper private key to account from VM, something that Hat is doing for us for free. Here we need to, for free, I mean, under the hood. Here we need to do it ourselves, okay? So I'm going to copy those two lines there. I'm going to need the deploy private key as well, not only the provider API key. So it would be the same thing as I had in the config. Here, remember, hat.config, I had those two. Here I have those two again, same idea. And after I get all of the information from the public provider here, console log last block, I'm going to put the information for the deployer. So the ellipses are before, you see, between the main function and this. So I'm going to put that, everything that I have here would be the ellipses, you know, line 9 from 19 would be the ellipses. And I paste it here at the end. Okay. So this is the version of the script that I have now. I have this create wallet client imported. I have this private key to account imported. I have this deploy private key set in my script. And after the last block number, I'm picking the information of the account. And you see, you need to configure a little more things than Hat. When creating a wallet client, you need to specify the account, the chain, the transport. You need to put your URL there again for you to have the same information. Hat make it easier. Okay. And with VM, you need to configure a little more things. Okay, we didn't deploy the smart contract yet, Trust. I'm going to get there in the next step. But here's what you have. No, I'm not putting this code on GitHub, okay? Sorry about that. I want you all to know how to assemble this code for this weekend project. This is a very important exercise, okay? Building the script is a very important exercise for this weekend. So with this new version of the script, I'm doing the same thing we did a while ago with Hat here. I had the balance, I had the address, the array of proposals, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm having the same thing, but now with VM, using VM directly, because now I can pass those arguments dynamically, okay? So I have my deployer address here, and I have this new balance, 3.99. How much I had? I had 4.05, so I use it 0.06 just to deploy one smart contract. Gas prices are crazy. Okay. Yes, it is. Very expensive. Okay. Yes, Ivan.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just mentioned the price, but I was running into an error trying to deploy it while we were still working with the hard hat. And then I dripped another 002, and only then it sufficed to actually create the contract. So I think we might be struggling if we have only tests. coins to actually do it. So I have to be
Yeah.
a little bit in the saving
So
mode.
put is like that. There are other test nets, like you can use Polygon or Moil, Base, Folha, or Arbitrum. There and many other things that they have test nets that are just like this, that you can get money there and test it from there. Okay, that can be.
But
We're
why
going
is
to
the
speak
cost
about that in
so
lesson.
high? Why are the costs so high on the test networks?
People are doing tests. They might be testing like roll-ups. They might be testing a lot of things, and the more they use, there's not much offer for block spacing test nets, right?
Okay.
People, I need to finish this thing for preparing you for the weekend project. So unfortunately, I can't take many more questions here, but please feel free to ask in the GitHub issues and also so that we can move forward. Okay. I'm going to deploy a smart contract in the in the public testnet or even in a local hot hat network by picking the API and the bytecode of that smart contract and passing that to VM. We can pick that from a JSON that we have in our artifacts. Okay, we can import this JSON here that we have in this first line in our script. Before or after .env doesn't matter. Import the API and bytecode from this JSON. This is not very beautiful to do. It's not very organized, but it can go. This is more like a JavaScript thing than a TypeScript thing. But then when we want to deploy a smart contract, we can use this API and this bytecode to deploy this Ballot contract, for example. Let me copy this. The ellipsis is the code that I have right now. I'm going to do it after I have the deployed balance. Okay, 2 hex. I need to import 2 hex. Sorry about that. Missed this single detail. So I'm going to deploy that smart contract by passing the API, the bytecode, and the arguments. When we were dealing with Hot Hat, I just needed to put the name of the artifact and the arguments. Here, when doing with VM, I need to pass the API and the bytecode myself. I need to get it there from the artifacts and pass it directly. So yes, it's a little more of work. Okay. And if I want to get public information for it, for example, I want to get all the proposals and I want to read a contract from this contract address to see all the proposals that I have deployed there, for example. Yes, it's possible. The address would be the contract address. I do need to import hex to string here. And this is possibly undefined. Let me solve like this, address from V. Need to import hex to string and I need to import address from VM. If I do this, I'm going to do the exact same thing that it was working with Hot Hat before, but now with VM, now I can pass those arguments, okay, for the contract. So I can connect to the blockchain with my private key. I can deploy a smart contract. I can connect with my own API provided keys and all. I can use this script both for deploying, or I can pick a pre-deployed version of that smart contract and do something there. Okay. So yes, it's using my account deployed. It's picking the proposals. So it is communicating with a public testnet. Okay. I suggest this one script later, running operation scripts that you can look as a homework. For example, a script of cast votes that would receive the contract address of a previously deployed ballot. You would deploy it first with one script, and then you would build this other script to cast vote. And then you can have another script to you would have another script to give right vote to someone, and another script to delegate. So you would have all of those different scripts there that you would pass different parameters, the contract address, the address of the person that you want to give right to vote to, the index of the proposal that you want to vote to, okay? So you would create those smart contracts. You would create those smart contracts. No, I'm sorry, I said it incorrectly. You would create those scripts, you would create those TypeScript scripts to do these operations, okay? So create a function to give right to vote, to cast vote. You would create a script to deploy that smart contract to delegate votes. Okay, you would have different scripts for all of these functions. You are going to create that on GitHub. So put that on your form too. And then you'll write a report with the execution of each of those smart contract calls and the transactions hashes in a public testnet. Okay. This is the weekend project. For you to pass those parameters, you do need to use VM. That is one exercise here for you to do of running operation scripts. You can follow it and do all the others with your group in this weekend. Okay. So yes, some more coding, some more work for you to do other than just using Remix, but it should be fun. And if you have any questions, if you have any issues happening, please feel free to reach out on the technical questions on Discord, or you can reach out creating an issue on GitHub. Okay. Good. We are out of time already, but anything, just please let me know there. Write an issue and I'll get to that very quickly. Okay. Thank you, people. Have a good one. Good weekend for you all. Bye-bye.